Flying across the United States was once considered an experience of relative comfort and adventure, but over the last few decades, the domestic aviation industry has undergone a massive transformation. What was once a service-oriented sector has gradually shifted into a highly optimized, profit-maximizing machine, where passengers are often treated as an afterthought. For millions of travelers every year, booking a domestic flight is turned into a stressful lesson in patience, unexpected fees, and operational failures. While almost every airline has its share of bad days, there is a select group of carriers in American skies that have earned a truly distinct reputation for delivering consistently difficult experiences. From sneaky fee traps that target your wallet to absolute operational meltdowns that leave you stranded in foreign countries, these carriers have elevated the art of the travel nightmare to an entirely new level. To understand how we arrived at this point, we must look closely at the worst offenders in the sky today. Let us start with Frontier Airlines, a carrier that has essentially mastered the art of the bait and switch. When you search for flights online, Frontier's prices look absolutely irresistible. You might see a ticket from Denver to Chicago advertised for just $29. It looks like an incredible bargain, but that ticket is not a discount. It is merely an invitation to a grueling financial gauntlet. Frontier's entire business model is built on unbundling. They strip away every single amenity you would normally expect on a standard flight and sell it back to you at an inflated price. If you want to bring anything larger than a small school backpack, you have to pay. Selecting your seat or buying a cup of water will require you to pull out your credit card, as absolutely nothing is complimentary. But the real anxiety begins at the gate boarding. Gate agents are trained to systematically scrutinize every passenger's personal item. If your bag does not slide effortlessly into the sizer, you'll be stopped and charged a mandatory $99 gate check fee. What many passengers don't know is that Frontier pays its gate agents a $10 commission for every single passenger they successfully catch and charge at the gate. This policy essentially turns the boarding area into a predatory environment. And if your flight gets delayed or canceled, the nightmare only worsens. In late 2022, Frontier completely eliminated its telephone customer service department. If you have an issue with your ticket, a lost bag, or a canceled flight, you can't call a phone number to speak with a human being. A pre-recorded message simply tells you to visit their website, use WhatsApp, or interact with an online chatbot. This lack of human accountability has led to Frontier consistently ranking at the very top of the list for customer complaints per passenger in the United States. Then we have Spirit Airlines, immediately recognizable by its bright neon yellow airplanes that many passengers jokingly compare to flying school buses. Spirit is the pioneer of the ultra-low-cost model, and like Frontier, they rely heavily on extremely cheap base fares to lure travelers in, only to hit you with a wave of ancillary fees. But Spirit has also gained a reputation for providing one of the most physically uncomfortable flying experiences. The seats are incredibly thin, featuring minimal padding that passengers compare to sitting on hard plastic school chairs. These seats are also locked in a permanent upright position. Spirit calls this pre-reclined, a clever marketing term designed to hide the fact that the seats do not recline at all. The legroom is some of the tightest in the entire aviation industry, ensuring maximum seat density. Taller passengers will find their knees pressed tightly against the seat in front of them for the duration of the journey. Spirit's financial troubles have also heavily impacted its operations. For years, the airline operated on incredibly thin margins. After attempting mergers with Frontier and JetBlue, both of which ultimately fell through, Spirit was left with massive debts and grounded planes. The company was ultimately forced to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Beyond the financial and physical discomfort, Spirit is also famous for passenger chaos. If you search for Spirit online, you're bound to find viral videos of dramatic airport brawls, screaming matches in the aisles, and passengers losing their temper at gate agents. When you strip away passenger comfort, pack people into an incredibly tight space, and hit them with unexpected fees at every turn, you create a highly volatile environment. While Spirit has recently tried to introduce premium seating options, it remains one of the most stressful brands in American aviation. While Frontier and Spirit are famous for budget-related frustrations, Alligator Air has historically faced much more serious criticisms regarding safety, maintenance, and reliability. Alligator's business model connects small, underserved regional cities directly to vacation hotspots. This means they might fly you directly from a tiny airport in the Midwest to a destination like Las Vegas or Orlando. For travelers living in rural areas, this is incredibly convenient, but the way Allegheny kept its ticket prices so cheap for many years raised massive red flags. Historically, Allegheny kept its fleet costs low by purchasing older used aircraft that other major airlines were actively retiring, specifically the McDonnell Douglas MD-80. While buying older planes saved the airline money up front, it required an extraordinary amount of maintenance to keep them flying safely. Unfortunately, the airline's maintenance department struggled to keep up with the demands of an aging fleet. In 2018, an investigative report by the news program 60 Minutes shocked the traveling public. The investigation analyzed public FAA documents and revealed a deeply troubling statistic. Allegheny's planes were nearly 3.5 times more likely to suffer serious in-flight mechanical failures than other major U.S. carriers. The report detailed an alarming list of incidents, including aborted takeoffs, cabin pressure losses, engine shutdowns in midair, and emergency landings where cabins filled with smoke. Furthermore, the investigation revealed that Allegheny did not have its own certified mechanics stationed at the vast majority of the airports they served. If a plane broke down at a small regional airport, passengers were often left stranded for days while the airline scrambled to fly in a contract mechanic or a spare part from another state. Another smaller carrier that managed to cement its place in the Hall of Fame of terrible customer service is Sun Country Airlines. Based in Minnesota, Sun Country primarily serves Midwestern travelers looking to escape the freezing winter months for the warm beaches of Florida, California, and Mexico. For the most part, Sun Country is a standard, low-cost airline that gets passengers from point A to point B without much fuss. However, in April of 2018, the airline made a decision so notorious that it became a national scandal. During a historically severe late-season blizzard in Minneapolis, the airport was forced to shut down, causing hundreds of flights to be canceled. Among these were 2 Sun Country flights scheduled to return to Minnesota from the Mexican resort cities of Los Cabos and Mazatlan. Approximately 250 passengers were left stranded at the airports in Mexico, waiting for Sun Country to reschedule their flights and bring them home. But instead of sending a rescue plane, Sun Country sent an email. Because it was the final weekend of Sun Country's seasonal winter service to Mexico, the airline simply decided it was not financially worth it to send a plane to rescue the stranded passengers. The email informed the travelers that their flights were canceled, that they would receive a refund for the return portion of their ticket, and that they would have to find their own way back to the United States. The stranded passengers were left empty-handed in a foreign country, with many families facing the prospect of spending thousands of dollars on last-minute one-way tickets with other airlines. After days of devastating press coverage and threats of government investigations, Sun Country eventually agreed to reimburse the passengers for their alternative travel costs. However, the incident left a permanent stain on the airline's reputation, serving as a stark reminder of how quickly a budget airline can abandon its customers when things go wrong. It's easy to criticize budget airlines, but the legacy carriers can be just as frustrating. And among the big 3 premium airlines in the United States, American Airlines consistently struggles the most with customer satisfaction. As the largest airline in the world by fleet size, American carries hundreds of millions of passengers every year, but this massive scale often comes at the expense of quality service and operational reliability. According to federal data, American Airlines consistently ranks near the bottom of major carriers for both on-time performance and baggage handling. If you've ever connected through one of America's massive overcrowded hubs like Charlotte Douglas or Dallas Fort Worth, you've likely experienced the anxiety of a delayed flight causing you to miss a tight connection. Even if you manage to sprint across the terminal and make your flight, there's a statistically high chance that your luggage will not make it with you. American also struggles with a high rate of involuntary passenger bumping, forcing travelers off overbooked flights. When you pay a premium price for a major legacy airline, you expect a higher level of service. Instead, passengers frequently report long customer service lines, lost baggage, and rude staff. Ultimately, navigating the skies in the United States is always a gamble. No matter which airline you choose, remember that a cheap ticket can often end up costing you far more than just money. It can cost you your peace of mind.